Hello, this is KRBrickBot, and this is part 3 of my review of Capsule Boy. I'm wrapping things up by looking at the official alternative configurations and custom combinations, and then giving my overall thoughts.
Now, what to do with all these pieces? Well, you can either slather them onto main robot, but if you want to keep the robot streamlined and clean, you can also combine all of these into a shield. So first take Rhino's legs and plug them together, and take Ali's treads and clip them in together. Then plug them into these big gaping holes in the back. That forms a nice tread there. Combine Sharky's turbine / legs. Plug them in for leg configuration, and then plug them into these holes, which are specifically for this one configuration and nothing else. If you can get it in there. You have to make sure that thing doesn't twist. I think it's twisting for some reason. Yeah, just have to make sure not to twist the bottom bit. This is very fiddly. This is ridiculously fiddly. Then take Ali's pile driver arms and plug them into these holes. And take the Phoenix arms and plug him into these holes. Flaw number 1. This thing does not hold together well at all. Neither does that. And nor that. So you have to put the Phoenix arm on a 90-degree angle. Plug that back in if you can. And this is the shield mode. From the front, it would make a decent shield if it wasn't so bulbous and bulky and also just tends to fall apart all the time. Also, how in the world is Ultimate Warrior supposed to carry this shield? I mean, it looks like all the ports have been taken. Literally, all the ports have been taken. There's no way to plug it in except here. Except right here, which is going to be very impractical to plug in here. But yeah, so this really does not work like a shield at all. It's just a extremity storage mode. And a very shoddy one at that. So these extremities are actually robot helmets on which you can plug onto the main helmet for different configurations. So officially, the mode goes by the pilot's name. So this default mode is Pikey mode. If you can get that face out of here. Yeah, so just swap that out. And then swap out the head for like the primary pilot, I guess. And this is officially Rumble mode. That's another decent helmet with a big gold spiky horn, although it's soft rubber, which I don't like because it warps easily. Joe mode replaces these red wings with the Phoenix turbine wings, which are still on these robot arms. It's a more avian-like, when we piloted like blue visor. Or red visor in the animation model or in illustrations. Lighty mode takes this helmet with a very tiny face and a very big forehead jammer. You do not want to get in a head bump with this guy. And then cover that in for that mode. And then I think the instructions are really unclear on where to put these on for a shoulder cannon, shoulder-mounted weapons. I mean, that's kind of really tricky to put in a practical way here, because the arms get in the way. So squeaky these joints are. Yeah, so yeah, I guess you might have to remove this fin to get something decent out of it. Shoulder-mounted gunners. It's unclear in the instructions because it looks like those pylons are actually more inward, but there really are no joints I can see that can point this thing inward. Yeah, so that's that. And also these bits are relocated here, which I think works much better in terms of less restrictions. And Jukumi mode takes this fin and uses as a helmet, which folds down to form some sort of very tiny face, but still very scowly and angular shark-like head with a very big fin, which look like have blue eyes here but are red in some renders. I think the red would have looked better to match with these eyes, but I don't know why they went with blue. Then I guess like Allie, you can just take these shoulders and plug them on the back to form some shoulder-mounted guns or something. Yeah, some of these helmets work, but yeah, there's really no place to plug them in. They just kind of just nestle in there and such. They can be wiggled too easily. Okay, onto the other shoulder. Big old shoulders. Big old shoulder cannons. And put on everything mode. I put on every single part in the list. It clutters up the arms and the shoulders, which I think the arms will be more likely to pop off, but fortunately they're not right now. But there's that. Everything mode. Now I'm going to build the various mix and match models as shown in the instructions and on the box and give my thoughts on their design and structural integrity. This is a mecha suit. I mean, it looks very stocky and kind of looks like a work machine, but since this cockpit is not interchangeable with other colors, it looks very bland. The cockpit, it doesn't look like it has a visible cockpit here. And also, yeah, this thing cannot stand very well because, as I said, these are on very loose plastic hinges, which will just not stand, especially with those askew feet, unless you snip off the tabs here, which I'm not going to do. And these are not real claws. Tyranno, or a robo-lizard with humanoid arms. I mean, well, those big feet lend itself to a good center of balance. So this passes off as a nice robotic Tyranno or bipedal dino thing that can put up your dukes. It says this thing is an attack dog. That honestly looks more like some sort of little, small, compact scout attack machine, like a little attack walker. Yeah, this is the most compact of the official suggestions. Two-headed dragon. You can see where the two heads come from, but I don't think they forgot to add the rest of the body to this, so this just looks like a two-headed troll snake thing. This is not a two-headed dragon. This is a two-headed dragon. Dinosaur. With an RGB white color scheme. And it uses one of these forearm things for the dino head. Yeah, I guess you could kind of imagine it is if you squint at it. But this does not bend at a full 90 degrees. So it's always going to be looking like this way, or if you turn on this, if you try to turn this asymmetrical thing, it just looks, it can only turn one way, and unless you just pop on the other one. So that's an unconventional use for this part at least. And yeah, there's just barely enough clearance to attach this tail part to this green part here. Elephant. A very lanky elephant with paws. And again, it uses one of these as the trunk, which again is not perfectly parallel because it had not been designed that way. And I guess these kind of pass as eyes. Also, yeah, it's the same reason I don't have any trunk. So yeah, it's a robotic alien, imaginative robo elephant mecha thing. Yeah, you stretch the imagination when making these custom creations. And here are some of my crazy custom creations. So now onto my pros and cons of this entire series in general, the toy series that is. Pros, the modular building system. With some various detachable bits and consistent joints like these, it allows the imagination to run wild as long as these fit in. And also, this main combined mode is also a very impressive robot. Decent articulation, Super Sentai-like combination. Overall, a good presence in a toy shelf, or toy box, or display shelf. Now the cons. The modular building system. I mean, while most of the parts do have these joints, these Lego Technic-like clip joints, this building system is still kind of limited because there are some parts that really are for only one configuration, and thus it really restricts the creativity and possibilities here. So I'm not sure what sets this toy range apart from other robot block building systems. There's like a whole myriad of them. In contrast to what the official advertisement says. I think I've seen it in Mixmaster's Final Force, something in 2010. I think I've seen it several other places, so this one is no different. It's just a newer incarnation, and I'm not sure if any other toy will use these specific joints for these specific compatibilities. So this building system is limited within mech customization and whatever you can just jam into this. Some of the limitations include the following. Putting these two extremities just to form a half of a pelvis each, and really nothing else to use, and just become a little ugly when not as a pelvis. I don't know why they just made this an entire separate piece while this pelvis piece could just be separate. And consequently, these two double ports on the bottom of these torso bits really don't work for custom configurations. They're always going to be offset. The ports for the animal heads and the robot heads are different. The robot head ports have a little stopper in them, while this one is just clean, smooth all the way. So even though they look like they're two similar holes, there's actually a difference. Hexagonal and circular. So I guess you can plug them in this hole. You can do it vice versa, but then that'll be loose on one side or the other. Yeah, so these smooth holes are loose in the hexagonal holes. And then you can't plug these into these smooth holes. I don't know why they made them two different sizes. Just so that, I guess, to keep the kids from getting confused? Also, not everything in the cartoon can be replicated on the toy. Second, the joint integrity. Yeah, they're a little squeaky and tight on some, and some very loose on others. So I think, yeah, when playing around, this thing will fall apart quite a lot. And also, I think this is kind of a lower quality than most Korean modern toys. While it still does have that shiny plastic, at the same time you can still see some sort of grunge and unrefined spots, and also these little shoddy gold, because it does look like it was outsourced to a Chinese manufacturer, so the build quality is kind of less. It's a slightly lower quality than the standard Korean toys outsourced from Vietnam or such. Overall, I would recommend this to anyone who's into building and or robot toys. Though it might be a little tricky to find on eBay and such, because I don't think it's a very well-known Korean property as the others. But since this thing came from China, you might find a Chinese release of them there. Or just go to one of the Korean shopping sites.
Thanks for watching, and don't forget to like and subscribe. And until next time, this is KRBrickBot signing off.